Talk Radio Network.
WTAN Florida has moved to Thursday nights from 5 to 7 with more golf entertainment and inside information. From the PGA to the LPGA, LIV, and local events, show for scratch golfers, fun-loving hats, two pros sharing insight along with a hack and Caddyshack humor with their talented entertainment team. On the T Florida, 5 to 7 from Ferg Sports Bar and Grill, 19th Hole Clubhouse, and Ice Pick Vodka Studios. On the Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection, radio network streaming at FloridaSportsStream.com. Tee it high and let it fly on the T Florida and Ice Pick Vodka.
Hi there, I'm Robin Savage, stand-up comic. Are you sick of the news getting pushed around by two sides, always saying the other side is wrong? You deserve to enjoy the news.
That's what's up, Robin. I'm your host, Mac James, from Stand Up for News. We're stand-up comics, and we tell the news. The news doesn't have any legs and can't stand up for its own self. Join us and special guests like local hero comics like Donnie Stopa, all the way to legends like Tommy Chong, every Thursday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on WTAN Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi, and welcome to Sci-Fi Hour at Joy on Paper here at the Tan Talk Radio Network in Clearwater, Florida. And I am so excited to talk to you about all things sci-fi, out of this world conversations and futuristic fiction. Today we have two incredible authors joining us. Our first guest, Kathy McCrum, has a book called Aberration that we'll be discussing. It's book 2 of her Children of Consortium novel series. And first, before we bring Kathy in, we are going to play a book buzz that I did a couple years ago from her first book called Recorder. Big Ed in the studio, thank you for having me today and for all your help. And would you go ahead and play that book buzz? Hello, fellow sci-fi readers. This is author Bria Burton reporting for Joy on Paper with your science fiction book buzz. Today's communique to galaxies near and far includes a 2021 debut novel, Recorder by Kathy McCrum. This is the first book in the Children of the Consortium series, and I'm eagerly awaiting the release of book 2 later this year. Recorder is available in print, ebook, and audiobook. Now, let's download the book buzz. What does it mean to be a person? Recorder is a genetically enhanced human with neural and optical implants and a jellyfish-like drone companion to further skyrocket her superhuman abilities. The drone also serves as a disciplinarian should she disobey the rules of the consortium or strays from her function of accurately recording events. On a distant moon during Recorder's first mission, the rescue team investigating a dead research station makes dark discoveries, while Recorder suffers a devastating blow and can no longer record. Back on the ship, she stands to lose everything when they return, but in time, she connects with her other team members to solve the mysteries of the dead station while exploring the intricacies, subtleties, and nuances of human behavior and communication. Friendships are forbidden for Recorders, and now she has so much more to lose. A thread of hope and faith weaves throughout this riveting, emotionally charged debut, staged in an Orwellian society. Author Kathy McCrum's short fiction has appeared in several magazines and anthologies. She is an editor at Havoc Publishing and a freelance editor. This is Bria Burton with your Futuristic Fiction Fix, signing off. Okay, and now that we've gotten a little taste of book 1, we're going to be talking to Kathy about book 2. And Kathy, welcome to Joy on Paper.
Hello, welcome. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
I am thrilled to talk to you. And I just want to start by mentioning I had the pleasure of meeting you in person a few years ago at the Realm Makers Conference. And this was before you had even published your first book. And I I was so excited to meet you there. And now your third book is out in the world for this series. So it's really exciting that just in a few short years, you've got a series going on. And I wanted to ask you, tell us a little bit about that writing journey. How has Realm Makers, the conference, the group of sci-fi fantasy authors, has that been a help to your writing? What led you to Enclave? And I know these are broad questions, but go ahead and start where you feel led.
Well, I'll start at the very beginning. The first time I remember, I think I've always told stories. When I remember when I was very little, probably about 3 or 4. I had a best friend. Her name was Sally. She lived in Clap Hands Land, and she threw the man's hat up in the air. And somehow this was like really funny, and I would tell the story all the time and laugh because I was a kid, right?
Yes.
But I wrote stories throughout my childhood, and I took a creative writing class. I was a lit major in college, which doesn't really teach you how to lit, but it teaches you how to read, which is kind of related, but so I loved writing. I wanted to write. I had my kids, and I thought, well, this is a little selfish. What am I doing? And so I put.
Kathy, are you still there? We may have lost her temporarily. Okay, so we will ask Kathy to call right back as soon as she can. But I will mention as we're getting her back on the line that my experience at Realm Makers, for example, was so helpful for me as a sci-fi fantasy author. So, Kathy, do we have you back?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
I could hear you guys talking. I just was saying, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Yes.
And I wasn't.
And this is why we write sci-fi, because technical difficulties give us story ideas.
Exactly. So anyway, so I was saying I'd put all of my writing aside. I mean, other than telling my kids bedtime stories and occasional poems or short stories that I wrote down. And then we had a really rough patch as a family. And I just quit altogether. And I'd had this dream, and I messaged I sent an email to one of my college writing friends, and she's like, well, where's the story? I'm like, fine, I'll write you your story about a box of giant cobalt blue bones. And so I wrote the story, and then I started writing down my dreams. And I had a couple of friends that I was able to meet up with a couple times a month. And I would bring the stuff that I wrote. But, they all wrote like romance or women's fiction. So I'd come out with my weird stories, and, about half of them would be like, that's really nice. Why don't you write something else?
Yeah.
But I'm stubborn and a trifle defiant.
You don't want to be put in a box.
No. Now, I'm going to backtrack slightly. When my daughter was just a couple months old, I was working an evening shift at a company that graded papers. So I was driving home. It's like 11:30 at night, and all of a sudden a sentence pops into my head. And I recited that sentence, that like paragraph really, all the way home, wrote it down, and that's now I think chapter 15 or 16 in Recorder. And so I started writing out this one dream that I had, which is pretty much it was inspired by some conversations I had with someone at work. And I was writing down the dream, and then the story just progressed. Like all these characters, like Nathaniel Timmons, Venetia Jordan, Alexander Spanos, Jean Dubois, and the Recorder, all appeared in my head at one time. And so I know everybody writes very differently.
Sure.
But these just kind of like, to use a sci-fi term, teleported into my head. And,
I love it.
And so I was writing, and I got through like maybe chapter 10 or 11 now, and Kylie showed up. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's the sentence that I wrote down 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
So I went back and anyway, so the whole time, as I said, it was kind of tough. We didn't have a computer. I wrote the whole thing on my Kindle.
Oh,
I had a hand-me-down Kindle Fire, and I decided to join a couple of online writing groups.
And how did you find Realm Makers?
Well, I found Realm Makers because someone in one of the small, tiny writing groups that I was in said, have you gone through Realm Makers? And I'm like, what? No, what is that? So I joined. I was in a crit group that didn't work out very well, just time and energy and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started working for Havoc as well, or editing for Havoc. And,
which is a flash fiction magazine. Mm-hmm.
Right. I love flash fiction. I'm going to put a plug in there for Havoc or Spark or whatever flash fiction you can write, because it trains you to write tightly.
Yes. Yeah, and flash fiction, for any listener who doesn't know that term, is typically 1,000-word story or less.
Right. And I did some microfiction too, or nanofiction, depends on whose definition you're using.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So like a full story, character, plot, setting, theme, everything in 100 words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you can train yourself to do that, your writing in general improves.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because you learn what you can cut, what you can't, how to use the best words, how not to double up on things, even though I'm going to raise my hand here for guilty of using multiple action beats and having editors saying, you don't need all of these.
Yes.
But I decided, when I decided I was going to write, I'm like, there's no weird stuff like I hadn't discovered Enclave yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's my publisher. So I went and I got my favorite books from the library and I looked up who their agents were.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, Steve Lobby keeps showing up. So when there was lockdown and the 2020 Realm Makers went online,
mm-hmm.
someone offered half of their ticket to whoever they could go. Because one of the things they did was that since they went all virtual, you had a choice of just keeping it, getting a refund, or splitting your ticket and letting somebody else go for free.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that's how I got to my first Realm Makers, because somebody gave up half of their ticket.
Mm.
And I got up in the middle of the night for whatever reasons, and checked my phone as one does, and saw that they just opened up pitches to Steve Lobby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, gasping, dramatically gasping. And so I took a slot and I pitched to Steve, and one other press had both of them request the full manuscript, had both of them offer for the book.
Mm.
So
I just love the way you're sharing your personal journey is beautiful storytelling. And this is one of the reasons I have just fallen in love with you as an author. Reading Recorder, that book there's all types of sci-fi. And I think the thing I love about what you're writing is there is so much emotional depth in it. And the characterization, the character connections, the almost simplistically, I'm going to say, the idea that there is this main character who is not allowed to have friends. And the very first thing you discover is that she has a friend and it's a secret. And so there is this just poignant, I would say poignancy in your writing that I absolutely love. And so I was so excited. You may or may not remember this, but last year I actually am holding up your signed copy. There's a YouTube channel. People can watch us live. And I'm holding up Aberration, and you signed it for me at last year's conference. And
cool.
Yeah, so I was very excited to talk to you about just how you develop these characters. And you mentioned a lot of them by name, and many of them come into book 2. The story continues. So let's just talk a little bit about the premise of Aberration and where it started with Recorder, that this main character, Recorder, is tasked from the consortium is this group that basically keep the record, and the recorders have that job. They're not allowed. They're humans. they're not allowed to interact with humanity beyond their certain parameters. So talk a little bit about moving from book 1 to book 2, to where we started with this character who lost her drone. She lost everything that she was meant to be as a recorder, found more friends. And then now we go into book 2, and a lot of these friends become their situations where they're in peril in deep space.
Yes. I will say that I had a really hard time writing this book because I knew where it started.
Yeah.
And okay, you're not going to be too surprised. I don't know. Sometimes these characters, I don't sit down and craft them. I don't like have a spreadsheet, or I don't look through images. I kind of focus on who they are, and then they kind of come into focus. They don't. I don't sit down and ask questions of them. They just are there. I don't know how to say that, which is what makes it really hard to start a news story. What am I going to do with you? I don't know who you are. But there's a lot of people who don't make it to the first chapter of between the end of Recorder and the first chapter of Aberration. And I know their names, I know their ages, I know their family situation. And I'm like, but I don't want you to be gone. So that sounds totally silly.
Not to other writers. Other writers listening will say, I understand completely, because we fall in love with our characters. And especially if you're the type of writer who the character kind of ends up leading the story, and you're almost along for the ride as the author. Sometimes readers might not understand that, but other authors, I think, do get that.
Yeah, I'm one of those that just follows them around and writes down the dumb things that they do, which is really great, because sometimes somebody will show up and you're like, where did you come from? But they're saying things and they're like, kind of like stealing the show for a minute. And you're like, okay, that's fine. Now you can go back to your corner. But one of the things that I wanted to do in this, and it was really hard, was, and I don't know how much to say without spoiling the end of Recorder.
Sure.
But how do I keep people present when they are not in the scene? That was tricky. That took a lot of revisions. But the biggest thing that I wanted to do here is to give a broader glimpse to the consortium and what the people were like, and give more of her world, because she had a very rich world, but a very isolated world.
Yes.
I kind of think of, in a very simplistic way, recorders are notaries.
Yes.
But they're also Soviet political officers. And that's, people hate them. I mean, that sense of like, you're not safe. Someone's always watching me.
Yes.
Big brother kind
that
of feel.
Orwellian element. Yes. Which means if we're following a character who is a recorder, she deals with a lot of hate and trauma, and not to mention the drones that, let's just say they're a little abusive or a lot abusive to these recorders. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I worked on when I was doing this particular book was the concept of dealing with grief. For me, that was a big part of it when I was writing. I mean, but the cool thing about books is that I'm writing the book and you're reading the book, and it's like I'm leading a dance, but the dance is your experience as well.
Yes. Oh, and that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, thank you. But it's like half of the book. If I need to lead the way, I need to tell the story. But every single reader reads a different, like, what is it somebody told me yesterday? We might read the same book, but we never read the same story.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
And I sometimes don't like telling the behind the scenes stuff, just because it's very different for me, and it doesn't mean that that's not what you're going to get out of it. But one of the things through this book is just watching the reactions and seeing the strong reactions and the growth in the other characters that she's left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And then I really loved, like, flipping the things that you didn't think. Like, there's a particular character in Aberration that
I think I know who you're talking about. There are some real twists in character development, because I'm thinking of a character who does a real 180 at the end, and it's very poignant. It's very powerful moment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's probably the same character. I don't know if I was crying so hard I couldn't even see my computer screen.
Oh yeah, I was crying at that moment. I was, which again, this is a different kind of sci-fi. That, not to say that other sci-fi doesn't make people cry, but sometimes the hard sci-fi, the very techie, heavy, those can be also very poignant in a different way. This one, I would say, is a little bit more emotionally poignant throughout, with the character connection that you, as an author, you draw the reader in so deeply to these character connections that when, let's just, without spoilers, when certain characters die, or when certain characters do things that seem, I can't believe this character's doing this, and maybe it's a positive or a negative, it's just, your heart feels wrenched in that moment. And so you do such an incredible job of providing that emotional resonance for the reader.
Well, thank you. I think that the big thing is that as humans, we tend to see people as what we see.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always stuff that you don't know that's going on in the background, or that made them a certain way. And if you understood that, I'm not saying that certain behaviors are justified. Let me just tell you that.
Absolutely, yes.
But there's a degree that she, as the recorder, has to learn, because she's always said that, like, I think, okay, I'm stumbling over my own words. Please forgive me, not enough coffee.
That's okay.
But in the first book, she's having a conversation with Dr. Robert Maxwell, and he says, "You've never been nothing. Whether some people believe that we evolved from the dust of stars, and some people believe we were created by the divine. But whether you are stardust or creation, you are unique. You are the only one of you in all of space and time." And the thing is, she can accept that about everyone else, but not herself.
Mm-hmm.
And when because she's been raised all her life to have a sort of non-bias, when she's confronted with her own bias,
yes,
that's hard.
Oh, and these are some of the psychological aspects of taking a story set on a moon in the far off galaxy, and these same human psychological elements plague the people out there that they do here, right here on Earth. And that's, again, one of the reasons we read sci-fi. One of the reasons we love it is because it is about the human experience, and just taking the human experience and imagining, well, what if we were colonizing a moon of Jupiter, and how that could look. But also, if we're taking humans there are going to be certain aspects of humanity that seemingly don't change. And that's the exploration that you've done so beautifully. Kathy, as we are winding down, can you tell people where they can buy these books? Because books 1, 2, and 3 are available right now. And I am just going to eagerly tell you all, please pick up Recorder, Aberration, and Guardian. These are excellent books. Where can people find the books, find you on social media or your website? Tell us how to do that.
Well, you can. My website is kathymccrum.com. I'm on Instagram, Kathy McCrum Author, and I'm on Facebook and Kathy McCrum Author, I think, but I'm guilty of not being on Facebook as much as I perhaps should be.
That's okay. Yeah. Awesome. And they can find your books on your website and then Amazon as well, I take it?
Yes, it's on Amazon, and I'm looking at Amazon has had some pretty strange, weird sales on Aberration lately. Oh, I don't know if it's on sale right now.
Okay. So people should check out to see if they can catch that.
Yeah. So it's all three of them are on Amazon. You can get them at Barnes and Noble or ChristianBook.com, and just about anywhere where you have books sold.
Awesome. So. Thank you, Kathy, so much for coming to talk to us about this amazing series. And I'm planning to be at Realm Makers in July. Will I see you there?
No, not this year.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to miss you. Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you again. And we will look forward to having you back when your next book releases.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Bye-bye. Okay, well, we are going to commercial break, and when we come back, we will have a conversation with T.E. Bakudis, and I cannot wait to talk to him about his book, Mind Burn.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Looking for inspiration? Looking for something that will intrigue you? Then this book is for you. Jim Lamb's poems start out as caterpillars, creepy, crawly, and raw. Then a miracle happens as they transform into colorful, bright, and conspicuous works of art. You can find Jim's new book of poetry, Hurting Butterflies, at Amazon.com. It's the perfect gift for the book lover in your life, even if it's you. Hurting Butterflies, the perfect holiday gift, available on Amazon. Get Hurting Butterflies.
Do you dread being called on to speak at meetings or family functions? Have you envied those who can sway an audience with well-chosen words? Do you know that people who speak well earn more money, earn more rewarding careers? Gain the confidence to master any speaking situation. Toastmasters will allow you to find your voice. Go to toastmasters.org to locate the club nearest you.
Are you an author, an artist, an inventor? Then you need to protect your valuable intellectual property. You need Larson & Larson. We have the experience and knowledge to help you with all of your legal needs, from processing trademark, copyright, or patent applications to negotiating licensing agreements and handling litigation. The attorneys at Larson & Larson in Largo, Florida can help protect you. Call us today for a no-cost consultation at 727-546-0660 or visit our website at larsonpatentlaw.com.
Have you ever faced disaster? The Red Cross is always there for you. The Red Cross responds to a call for help every 8 seconds. They have never turned anyone down. Now they need your financial support so that they can be ready to help you when the need arises. Donate online at redcross.org. Thank you.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Bria at Sci-Fi Hour at Joy on Paper Radio. And I just want to also mention a thank you to Patsy Gill for allowing me to guest host once a month for Sci-Fi Hour for Joy on Paper. And we will have her back on next week. And in the meantime, we have got another sci-fi author that we get to talk to, and I'm so excited. His name is T.E. Bakudis, and we are going to play a book buzz for Mind Burn. And Big Ed, we're ready for you. Hello, fellow sci-fi readers. This is author Bria Burton reporting for Joy on Paper with your science fiction book buzz. Today's communique to galaxies near and far includes a 2023 techno thriller, Mind Burn, by Rhett C. Bruno and T.E. Bakudis, with stellar narration by Eduardo Ballerini. Now, let's download the book buzz. In a near-future San Diego, new detective Cohen Soto gets called in after the first mass shooting in a decade Thanks to personal brain assistants, or PBAs, psychopathic behavior is inhibited, along with other human tendencies toward violence. However, the evidence points to a hacker puppeteering the shooter through her PBA, making her another victim rather than the perpetrator. Cohen's investigation leads him to the dark sim where he finds answers he doesn't like. Meanwhile, the body count piles up as more people are being puppeted to commit terrible crimes. The penalty for these types of crimes is a mind burn, an entire reset of the criminal mind that removes and even replaces personality and memories. Bizarre and unexpected twists keep Cohen balancing on the edge of playing it by the book and hiding his own dark secret from his partner. Each clue takes him deeper down a path that could lead to his own mind burn if he makes the wrong move. Cohen manages to collect an unlikely ensemble of allies who are willing to help him solve these murders, their combined efforts linking powerful entities to some of the most heinous crimes. Genetic enhancements, augmented reality, cybernetic implants, virtual reality, AI, and the ever-watchful Big Brother are just some of the elements and themes in this pulse-pounding page-turner. Author Rhett C. Bruno is a USA Today bestselling and Nebula Award-nominated sci-fi fantasy author. Author T.E. Bakutis is a game designer and a lifelong fan of sci-fi, fantasy, and video games. Eric also spends a great deal of time in virtual reality and has saved Skyrim at least 6 times. This is Bria Burton with your Futuristic Fiction Fix, signing off. And Eric, welcome to the program. Is it okay if I call you Eric?
Eric is perfect. That's the
wonderful.
name I generally go by.
Okay, so, and your pen name is T.E. Bakutis, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. And the first thing that I wanted to start with, since I've got you here, is to talk about your experience co-authoring with Rhett C. Bruno. When I picked up the book, I noticed the 2 names. So I reached out to Rhett first, and he said, "Hey, I'm not available. Check in with my co-author." And I was so thrilled that you were available to talk about this. So can you start by telling us, how did you and Rhett arrange co-authoring this book, Mindburn?
Sure. Well, and one of the things too about Rhett is, in addition to being a really talented author, he also runs a publishing firm called Athon Publishing with his partner.
Athon Books, yes. Many sci-fi
Athon Books,
authors and readers will know Athon Books. It's a wonderful publisher.
It's Rhett and Steve Bello. I'm mangling his last name. I always do, but I want to mention Steve because they always make sure that they're both mentioned together. But
I love it.
I worked
That's
with Rhett.
Great. Uh-huh.
I worked with Rhett on that. So the way our process worked was largely kind of like a first and second draft. Like I would write the first draft of it, of a particular scene, and then Rhett would come in and read it, and we would brainstorm, and he would suggest revisions, and he would revise some stuff. So it was kind of more of a first draft and a second draft. So not just editing, but also brainstorming and revising and improving. And so we just kind of went through the entire book like that.
I love
tried
it.
to make it as solid as possible.
And was there one or both of you had the original idea premise, or did you come up with that together?
So pretty much the original book was mostly kind of out of my mind. And so I had that first draft and that kind of raw idea on the table. And then, I talked to Rhett about it, and he really liked it, and he read it and had some other ideas to improve it. And so, it's like kind of started with me and then tossed it to Rhett, and he made it better. And then together we kind of presented the final product.
I love that so much. And, let's get into it. Let's talk about the premise of Mindburn. So I love how on your website there's a blurb that says it's Minority Report meets Ready Player One. That's really a great descriptor if people are familiar with those 2 books, and both have movies as well. So I also, as I was reading this book, I was getting a little bit of Matrix, of course. I feel like that you can't escape the Matrix in sci-fi. It comes up. But also the whole idea of what the mind burn is. If you're familiar with a movie called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Now that's a very different type of sci-fi. Your book is much more hard sci-fi, whereas that story is a very soft sci-fi story, if you want to call it that, where the main character has his memories slowly removed of a person that he no longer wants to grieve the loss of this relationship. And so it's a very, it's a relationship story versus the tech side that we get into with your book. So let's talk about our main characters. There's a lot of characters, but I would call Cohen Soto the main character. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yes. Definitely one of the main characters.
Yes.
Everybody has a part to play.
There is quite the ensemble, which I love those types of stories, especially as the team is kind of built over the length of the book. So Cohen comes into it as this newbie detective. He's got a partner who's the more seasoned veteran. As you were coming up with, the premise behind Cohen's story, what are some of the ways that you even came up with these, what his background was going to be? And I'm not going to spoil it. I'll let you decide how much you want to share, because there are some cool twists and turns in this book. But talk a little bit about that character and how you developed him.
Well, speaking of twists and turns, the summary you had at the beginning I thought was excellent. That was really well put
Thank
together
you.
without giving a lot away.
Yeah,
so I really did like that.
I was trying hard not to spoil, because it is, sometimes I'll read a back of a book and I'll go, I feel like you're telling me the whole book. I want to experience it.
Yeah.
So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, but with Cohen, it's kind of you're an author, so there's a lot of tips and tricks, kind of stuff that we've developed over time, and the idea of the inexperienced member of the team being educated by the older member of the team, that's kind of a core element if you want to introduce a world and concepts and all this stuff that is unfamiliar to the reader. It helps to have someone that has about the same level of familiarity with it as the reader. So that's kind of where Cohen started, with just, you need the newbie because the newbie needs to have things explained to him. But also, I think, again, trying to, without having too many spoilers, I think part of what made Cohen so pivotal to the book was that he is a person who does not necessarily have the sensibilities that you and I have today, because his world is nothing like we have today. He's grown up with these personal brain assistants. He's grown up with the behavioral controls that they provide to, make sure that people aren't hurt, but, he's also aware of some of the dark side of these things. He's grown up in a society where this is normal. So how he thinks about things and the way he does his moral calculus is kind of informed by that experience. And so, Jeb, who is his senior partner, is sort of in that way, but he's more on the border. He was coming up kind of when this technology was just getting started, and so he has a slightly different perspective. So I just wanted, really, I can't develop Cohen in the absence of Jeb, because they're two halves of the same, partnership.
Yes.
And but I would say those are the cores. Like we needed a new character who had to be educated, but also who had a perspective on this world that kind of matched the perspective I would expect someone who lived there to have.
Absolutely. That's wonderfully described. So, as you mentioned, this character Jeb growing up as these technologies were developing, sometimes I have to just marvel at our current day tech and what is possible now that wasn't possible when I was a kid in the 80s.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, for example, brain chips are a thing. Like, they're a thing now.
And they were not when I started writing this book, which is kind of terrifying.
Gosh, to hear you say that, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. So for example, I was talking to another author a couple sci-fi hours ago here on the radio, and she has a book called Clone Droid, about a cloned human that has an android brain. And so we're talking about this idea. And at the time I was interviewing her, the day prior to the interview, there was something on Twitter about the first time someone had tweeted with a brain chip. Like the person did not manually type it. The brain chip did the tweet for this person. Yeah. And that just felt like a very pivotal moment for me as a sci-fi author. For this other author, we were just talking about it, because not to say that that's the first thing someone has done with a brain chip, but there's something about storytelling with a brain chip. If you want to use a tweet as a way to tell a story. So talk a little bit about and feel free to share as little or as much as you want about that experience writing this book, watching the technology evolve in real world versus developing the technology in the book. And I know there's a lot of tech in this book, so I'll let you decide again how much you want to talk about.
Yeah, well, a lot of my inspiration for this book came from following, I follow a lot of sources that talk about tech and tech that's coming and tech that's being developed and things that are, speculated. But I also read a lot of, sci-fi and fantasy and cyberpunk, which has a lot of cool ideas that, also inspired it. I think one of the most interesting things I heard is somebody mentioned that the inspiration for some of the engineers who are making the first smartphones was like the tricorders from the original Star Trek. Sci-fi can inform, ideas for actual real things that we want to develop and so on. But with Mindburn in particular, because I started writing the book almost 10 years ago now, within, the book being finished and developing it, like so many things that were just theoretical when I wrote it, like began to come true, like, scarily so. Like you mentioned the mind chip. Like I had finished the book, and I think a year later, Elon Musk made the first announcement about Neuralink. Yeah. And even though it wasn't like when I'm not sure how familiar you are with like, Chat GPT and OpenAI and these large language models that are becoming very popular. That wasn't really even talked about 10 years ago. But I had the idea of these virtual intelligences, which was a distinction between, an AI, which is actually conscious, and a virtual intelligence, the VI, which can just make decisions. And I had those running the synth cops, the synthetic policemen who take the place of real policemen to avoid, danger. Yes. And all these other services. And I had never even heard of the idea of a open Chat GPT or OpenAI or that sort of thing at the time. And now it's like everyone's talking about it. And I'm like, oh my God, these are the things that are running my synth cops and these other things. Yes. And especially with VR in particular. You mentioned The Matrix, which I think is such an influential film in, all sorts of genres. Yes. And that was definitely the initial inspiration for The Sim, which is the Matrix-like environment that people travel to. Yes. But, within the past 5-6 years, maybe a little longer, we've seen these huge surges in virtual reality technology, VR headsets, VR systems. And now I'm going to mention one app in particular, which some people may have heard of. It's really popular, but only among tech people, and it's called VR Chat. And that app basically allows a community of hundreds of thousands of people to create, all sorts of different bodies. Like you can have any sort of full body experience. You can be, all sorts of characters. People have created thousands upon thousands of worlds, probably more than that, probably hundreds of thousands of worlds, replicating popular media, replicating their, coming up with their own ideas. So we have people building and living in a virtual world right now. They don't have, smell and taste and other senses that people in the sim have, but it's still very much like similar to that. So yeah, so much of the book's tech. Oh, the other thing I mentioned too is there's some mention of drones and how they're used in warfare. And that was just a thought at the time, but now we've seen recent developments with some of the wars that have happened and how prevalent drone technology has become. Yes. So yeah, it's a little unnerving. Yes. how quickly things seem to be heading in the direction of the book, good and bad. Absolutely. And one of the things I wanted to mention, just there is so much incredible use of tech. It's not, and this is just a comment on the storytelling side. You use the tech in a way that you create this wonderful 4D chess in the story. And it's a level of storytelling that so often I think authors strive for. I feel like you achieve it very well, and being able to serve your story. That's what the tech is for. It's not necessarily that we're reading this story just to see shiny new tech. It's actually in service of the story. And that
you did such an incredible job. I was riveted in this book, and how, the way you lay out the book is these different crime scenes. Basically, we move from crime scene to crime scene. We do get a few different character POVs throughout, but all in service to this story that it's essentially told as a mystery. Would you agree with that? That was your intent?
Yeah, it's very much. It's a little thriller, a little mystery. I think, to be fair, that's a lot. I think a lot of cyberpunk has followed that route as well.
Yes.
It's very common to have the protagonist in a world where he's kind of in over his head. Somebody's after him, or somebody's after something else. He has no idea what's going on. He has to unravel the mystery of what's happening slowly while he's being, in all these dangerous situations. So yeah, I think the mystery thriller setup fits very well in cyberpunk, just in general, in that genre.
Yes.
But I did want to say I really appreciate that you mentioned how the tech kind of tied into everything, because that was, in fact, very much my intent. Like each of the cases that they encounter, introduces and kind of familiarizes, at least my hope is, the reader with some particular element that becomes critical to the finale. Like, in order for everything to wrap up the way we want to, all of these elements have to be accounted for and used in a way that allows the protagonist to essentially accomplish their goal.
Right.
But
yes.
if you have that scene happen and people don't understand what these things are and why they're being used and why they're making the decisions, it has less impact. So it's really nice to hear that you kind of looked at that and said, oh yeah, I see how this stuff is coming together now. Because that was definitely what I said I would do.
Absolutely. Yes. And the character motivations, they all make sense. And when speaking of things like The Matrix, when there might be things that aren't quite what they seem, maybe we're actually being shown something that's not reality. And then the flip comes and we learn, oh, that was all a smokescreen. But all those moments are done so well. And so I thought of any authors out there listening who enjoy sci-fi, enjoy writing sci-fi. This book is a great example of that kind of really effective storytelling. So I, of course, am recommending everybody pick up this book, Mind Burn. And I was assuming this is a standalone novel, but I will ask you that question. Is there a sequel in mind? Is there anywhere that this could go, considering how it ended, which I'm not going to share, but what are your thoughts there?
That would be something that we haven't really talked about. It definitely was initially written as like, I wanted to tell this complete story.
Yes.
With, everything comes full circle kind of in the end.
Yes.
The world, and I think I tend to, and I think Rhett does a little of this as well, but I tend to kind of overbuild worlds in the sense that a number of authors do this, where I found the world feels more real if there's more of it that you don't actually get to see. Like if there's glimpses of, hey, there's this thing going on over here, and here's this really interesting idea, over on this side of the world. And you don't necessarily get to see it, but it's present. And
yes.
For me, if everything is self-contained, the world feels very sterile. So there's certainly a lot of, very lightly explored elements or other elements that could be expanded upon.
Yes.
But at the moment, we're just, we have this first book. And yeah, any sequels, that's something I would eventually talk over with Rhett, and maybe he says, hey, this is a great idea, let's do another one. But for now, we just got this first book, and we're both pretty happy with it.
Oh, wonderful. And you did mention some of your influences. Are there any favorite novels growing up, even if it's not in the sci-fi genre, that you particularly felt influenced your writing over the years?
Well, yeah, I've read so many books, it's hard to point to any particular influence, but I can definitely say particularly with Mind Burn, two of the biggest influences were actually not novels, but animated series or anime, as they're referred to in Japan. And those two would be a series called Ghost in the Shell, Standalone Complex, which was an episodic series about a group of basically military investigators dealing with cyber crimes. Same type of thing. People with electronic brains and all sorts of interesting stuff. That was a big inspiration. And there's another series. It's a very, very dark series. Just as a warning, if you check it out. But it's fascinating in how it explores the idea of free will and how much security do we want to give up to feel safe, et cetera. And that series is called Psychopaths. And that series especially was a huge influence on this because it took the route of the police procedural. It had the ensemble cast. It presented these pieces of tech in interesting ways and almost neutral ways. Like, I think that's one of the things that I would want to call out is like none of the tech in the book, just as none of the tech in our real life, is good or bad. It just is. It can do things. And it's how people choose to use it that can either make it the most wonderful thing in the world or the most terrifying thing in the world. It's the choices that the people make into how they're going to interact with this stuff that influences how it affects people.
Absolutely, because ultimately these high-tech sci-fi stories are still human stories. We're telling character stories here. And so that's what's so interesting is watching these characters interact with the tech or with other humans as they encounter this different, tech. For example, one of the characters, if we can just briefly mention, has cybernetic implants and cybernetic, enhancements. And I, of course, go back to the brain chip. I think about what does that look like in our world if those things start developing farther and faster, and how much, when does a human stop being a human and start becoming a machine? And, those questions that I think have been asked over the years of science fiction books in the past. So just any thoughts about that particular element of enhancing humans with cybernetics?
Well, I know. I mean, it's been a very common element, I think, in a lot of the stories I've read, both cyberpunk and just sci-fi in general, because I think it's interesting, and it's something that's just cool to think about. Like, as much as we as authors enjoy, we really want to write a solid story and really provide really interesting story about humans. There's also an element of the rule of cool, right? As it's often referred to. Like Star Wars, for example, has a lot of different elements, and lightsabers don't really necessarily have to be explained. They're just really, really neat. So
yes.
we want them. So, so cybernetics, especially like cybernetic enhancements, like, powerful arms or legs or getting those sort of things replaced. It's interesting both from, it makes sense in the world that someone who's tasked with, dealing with violent individuals might want an edge in order to take care of them. But it's also just a neat idea. Like, when I think about it, if I don't think too hard, I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool if I had a robot arm like Luke Skywalker? So, but yeah, I think as far as like what, how much of me is human and how much of me is, tech, so many books explore that idea. I think as long as a human brain is running the show, at least for me personally, to draw my line, then I'm like, all right, I think that's good. As long as it's still a human in control, most of the body can be remade. Maybe. I don't know how that would work. It probably wouldn't be very pleasant, but it would still be a human running. It would still be a cyborg. So.
It makes for great conversation. And as we are wrapping up here, I want to make sure people can find your books. Where on social media, website, where can the listeners find you?
Well, so right now, you can, my website, my author website is the best place to find all of my works. It's T as in Tom, BAKUTIS.com, tbakutis.com. So it's also, it's just basically my author name. And that's where most of my stuff is. I don't, social media is really interesting. It's not something that played a huge part in the book, but retroactively, I kind of wish it did, because it's such an influential and interesting and wonderful and horrible element in our society right now.
That's a great way to put it.
So,
yes.
I will say that, as much, I think I did have Facebook for many years, and eventually I got so like, I was so done with it. Like I'm getting all of these weird, posts. I'm getting all these influences, all these, questionable information. And I was like, I just want to divorce from this. I just want to set this aside. So I actually, for that reason, don't have Facebook or Twitter, because both of them, again, they can be used for wonderful things, they can be used for terrible things. But I'm like, I need to just disconnect from this a little and just, be more in the now. I mean, Discord, I think, is the one that I really use extensively. Aethon Books, which we mentioned, Rhett and Steve's publishing house has a Aethon Books Discord server, and I'm really active on there. So that's another great place to just come find me if you read the book and you want to chat. I'm on there. But yeah, the website is the best place to look for my stuff.
Well, thank you so much, Eric. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And when your next book is out, I will absolutely reach out. I'd love to have you back on the show.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the interview. This was super fun.
Yes, thank you. And have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye now.
Take care.
Okay, thank you, dear listener, for joining us at Sci-Fi Hour at Joy on Paper Radio. We will be back next month, and in the meantime, get reading.
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend Dog Food.
I'm Steve Kathan. As a House panel threatens to hold Attorney General Garland in contempt of Congress, President Biden asserts executive privilege over audio recordings of his interview with the special counsel. CBS's Scott McFarland.
The Department of Justice, he says, has already cooperated with these congressional probes into the special counsel review of President Biden's handling of classified records, that they've been cooperative, that they've shared records, that they shared that transcript. And the argument made by the Attorney General is the department needs to stay outside of or beyond politics. And his argument is that providing audio would be putting his department in the middle of politics.
The Biden campaign has accepted a CBS News offer for a vice presidential debate this summer. No word from the Trump team. More testimony from Michael Cohen today at the Trump criminal trial. CBS's Robert Costa.
In the Trump defense view, he never had criminal intent as a candidate to obstruct the election or in some way hide material, that he was enabling Michael Cohen to be Michael Cohen, and that wasn't a crime.
House Speaker Johnson on a Republican push to approve a measure that would force President Biden to send military aid to Israel that was withheld earlier this month.
The House will be voting on legislation to compel the delivery of defense weapons to Israel as they fight to protect themselves from radical terrorists and defend their very existence as a nation.
The U.S. military has finished installing a floating pier for Gaza. Vice Admiral Brad Cooper says ships loaded with assistance are making their way there from Cyprus.
We're going to get about 500 tons in the next couple of days. It's a pretty substantial amount. And it's spread out over multiple ships right now.
The U.S. Supreme Court has rejected a conservative move against the government's Consumer Financial Protection Bureau over its funding. Legal analyst Jessica Levinson.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau lives to fight another day. If the court had gone the other way and said there's a problem with their funding source, that obviously could have been fatal for the agency.
The Florida Sheriff's Department handling the investigation into the fatal law enforcement shooting of a U.S. Air Force airman, Roger Fortson, in his apartment says it's now reviewing a list of demands from the NAACP. The original call of trouble was a response to a disturbance. Family attorney Ben Crump.
Roger did not have any domestic disturbance. Roger had no criminal history. Roger has never, ever been accused of domestic violence.
Right now on Wall Street, the Dow is trading above 40,000 for the first time. It's up 93 points. The S&P is up 8. This is CBS News.
Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend is freeze-dried dog food. Save up to 54% off your first order, plus a free pack of their best-selling beef liver dog treats. Go to drmartypets.com/dogs.
And now it's time for Only an American Minute with your host, Bill Cochran.
Swamp people, the swamp people are threatening to leave the country. They said they're going to go to Portugal. Some are going to go to Australia, some to Canada, France, Poland, wherever they want to go. This is what they're going to do if Donald Trump gets reelected. Hey, good. Hope they do leave. I hope a lot of swamp people leave Washington, D.C., because when Donald Trump takes over in January of next year, it's going to be a clean slate in the swamp, because Donald Trump is going to know exactly how to treat the swamp people. Not like he did in 2016 when he did a tremendous job at running the country. He's going to make it so much better this time in America, because this is Donald Trump return in 2024. So think about it.
Double Eagle Deep Sea Fishing salutes America's armed forces and military veterans for the sacrifices they've made. Our troops are our angels of freedom and our wings of protection, fighting to defend our country. We honor our warriors for their dedication and bravery, as well as our veterans and those who have given their lives. America's true heroes. This from Captain Chad Haggard at Double Eagle Deep Sea Fishing in Clearwater Beach, serving the community for 55 years, reminding all of us that our freedom has never been free.
Enough is enough is enough.
And if you've heard enough of the conservative right-wing agenda that overwhelms the Tampa Bay AM radio band, won't you join me, Ed Golly, every Thursday morning at 10 o'clock for The Voice of Reason?
No spin, no alternative facts. Just refreshing, straight talk concerning the events of the day.
That's Thursday, 10 a.m., the TAN Talk Radio Network.
This is Paul Porter, the arena voice of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Orlando Magic, and the press box voice of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with some exciting news. My radio program can now be heard on the TAN Talk Radio Network every Saturday morning from 9 to 11. We take your phone calls, give you the latest news on all of our home teams, and have contest and prize giveaways. Join Jason Alessi and me every Saturday from 9 to 11 a.m. for the home team on FM 106.1 and AM 1340. Also on Facebook Live, the home team with Paul Porter.
Thinking about starting your own business? Then you need to listen to the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour from 6 to 7 p.m. There's nothing more rewarding than starting your own business. Gene will bring you tips and advice from themselves and other entrepreneurs that will help you get started. Have you already started your own business? Then call in and share your story to help other entrepreneurs. That's the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the TAN Talk Radio Network.
That's the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour, Wednesdays from 6 to 7 right here on the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Keep your radio dial right here. We're playing your favorites all day long. It's the music of your life, right here on the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Doc Simonson, and I want to thank you for making the music of my life the music of your life.
If you leave me now, you take away the biggest part of me. Ooh, no, baby, please don't go. And if you leave me now, you take away the very heart of me. Ooh, no, baby, please don't go. Ooh, God, I just want you to stay. Love like ours is love that's hard to find. How could we let it slip away? We've come too far to leave it all behind. How could we end it all this way? Tomorrow comes and we say how could we let it slip away? We've come too far to leave it all behind. How could we end it all this way? When tomorrow comes and we both regret things we said today. She's running away. Few lights on. She's making a play. She can't go wrong. She never waits alone. She's running on down on the clock machine, and she won't give up. 'Cause she's 17. She's a frozen fire. She's my one desire. I don't want to hold her down, don't want to break her crown. But she says, let's go. I like the night, baby. She says, I like the night, baby. She says, let's go. She's laughing inside, 'cause we can't refuse. She's so beautiful now. She doesn't wear her shoes. She never likes to choose. She got wonderful eyes and the rich mouth. When I asked her before, she says she's holding it out. She's a frozen fire. She's my one desire. I don't want to hold her down, don't want to break her crown. But she says, let's go. I like the night, baby. She says, I like the night, baby. She says, let's go. I like the night, baby. She said, I like the night, baby. She said, let's go. Watch it. I was born in a drive-by hurricane, but I howled at the barn and driving rain. But it's alright. The fact is a guess, but it's alright. will stand across my flag. But it's alright. That's just a guess. But it's alright. I'm jumping jack flash. It's a guess. I was drowned, I was washed up and left for dead. I fell down to my feet and I saw their blade. Yeah, I drowned, and the crumbs of a crust got red. Yeah, I was drowned, with spike through my head. But it's alright. That is a guess, but it's alright. Don't be judged, it's a guess. It's a guess. Jumping jack flash, it's a guess. Jumping jack flash, it's a guess. Jumping jack flash, it's a guess. Well, I know it's kinda late. I hope I didn't wake you, but what I've gotta say can't wait. I know you'd understand. Every time I tried to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I have to say I love you in a song. Yeah, I know it's kinda strange. Every time I'm near you, I just run out of things to say. I know you'd understand. Every time I try to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I have to say I love you in a song. Every time the time was right, all the words just came out wrong. So I have to say I love you in a song. Yeah, I know it's kinda late. I hope I didn't wake you, but there's something that I just gotta say. I know you'd understand. Every time I try to tell you, the words just came out wrong. So I have to say I love you in a song. You can
can defer payments of a full NetSuite implementation for 6 months. No payments and no interest for 6 months. This is a big deal. NetSuite by Oracle has never made an offer like this in its 22 years as the leading cloud financial system. 33,000 companies have already upgraded to NetSuite, gaining visibility and control over their financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce, and more. Everything they need to reduce manual processes, boost efficiency, build forecasts, and increase productivity across every department. In fact, almost 90% of finance leaders agree that NetSuite helps them reduce manual data entry time. Whether your business generates millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, take advantage of this special financing offer of no payments or interest for 6 months at netsuite.com/news. That's netsuite.com/news. netsuite.com/news.
Tin soldiers and Nixon coming, we're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming, for dead in Ohio. Gotta get down to it, soldiers are cutting us down. Should have been done long ago. What a deliver and found the dead on the ground. How can you run when you know? Gotta get down to it. Soldiers are cutting us down. Should have been done long ago. What a deliver and found the dead on the ground. How can you run when you know? Tin soldiers and Nixon's coming, we're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming, for dead in Ohio. For dead in Ohio. For dead in Ohio. For dead in Ohio. I'm for dead in Ohio. I'm living for dead in Ohio. Why? For dead in
Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, and Bobby Darin are all back on the radio. Be Someplace Special, the music of your life on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Lady, I'm your knight in shining armor, and I love you. You have made me what I am, and I am yours. My love, there's so many ways I want to say I love you. Let me hold you in my arms forevermore. You have gone and made such a fool together. Won't you believe in my song? Lady, for so many years I thought I'd never find you. You have come into my life and made me whole. Forever, let me wait to see you each and every morning. Let me hear you whisper softly in my ear. In my eyes, I see no one else but you. There's no other love like I love. And yes, oh yes, I'll always want you near me. I've waited for you for so long. Lady, your love's the only love I need. And beside me is where I want you to be. 'Cause my love, there's something I want you to know. You're the love of my life. You're my lady.
The devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul to steal. He was in a bind because he was way behind and he was willing to make a deal. When he came across this young man sawing on a fiddle and playing it hot, and the devil jumped up on a hickory stump and said, "Boy, let me tell you what. I guess you didn't know it, but I'm a fiddle player too. And if you'd care to take a dare, I'll make a bet with you. Now, you played pretty good fiddle, boy, but give the devil his due. I bet a fiddle of gold against your soul because I think I'm better than you." The boy said, "My name's Johnny, and it might be a sin, but I'll take your bet. You're going to regret because I'm the best as ever been. Johnny, rosin up your bow and play your fiddle hard, because hell's broke loose in Georgia and the devil deals the cards. And if you win, you get this shiny fiddle made of gold, but if you lose, the devil gets your soul." The devil opened up his case and he said, "I'll start this show." And fire flew from his fingertips as he rosined up his bow. And he pulled the bow across the strings and it made an evil hiss. And then a band of demons joined in and it sounded something like this. When the devil finished, Johnny said, "Well, you're pretty good, old son, but sit down in that chair right there and let me show you how it's done. Fire on the mountain, run, boys, run. The devil's in the house of the rising sun. Chicken in the bread pan, picking out dough. Ready to your dog bite, no child, no." devil bowed his head because he knew that he'd been beat. And he laid that golden fiddle on the ground at Johnny's feet. Johnny said, devil, just come on back if you ever want to try again. I done told you once, you son of a bitch, I'm the best there's ever been. He played Found a Mountain, Run, Boy, Run. Devil's in the house of the rising sun. The chicken in the bread kind of picking out dough. Granny, we a dog fight, no child, no.
Sailing away on the crest of a wave, it's like magic. Oh, rolling and riding and slipping and sliding, it's magic. And you and your sweet desire, you took me. Oh, higher and higher, baby. It's a living thing. It's a terrible thing to lose. It's a given thing. What a terrible thing to lose. I'm thinking of Making believe this is what you can see from your worst day. I'm taking a dive. Oh, moving in line, then you look back in time to the first day. I'm taking. And you and your sweet desire. Don't you do it, don't you do it. Oh, higher and higher, baby. It's a living thing. It's a terrible thing to lose. It's a given thing. What a terrible thing to lose. I'm thinking of dying on the stage. Taking a dive cause you can't help to slide floating downstream. I'm taking a dive. Oh, so let her go. Don't start spoiling the show. It's a bad dream. I'm taking. And you and your sweet desire. Don't you do it, don't you do it. Higher and higher, baby. It's a living thing. It's a terrible thing to lose. It's a given thing. What a terrible thing to lose. It's a living thing. It's a terrible thing to lose.
Thank you for being someplace special. The music of your life. Here on the station everyone is talking about. The Tan Talk Radio Network.
It all came so easy. All the loving you gave me, the feelings we shared. And I still can remember how you touched me so gently. It told me you cared. We had a once in a lifetime, but I just couldn't see it until it was gone. Second once in a lifetime, maybe too much to ask, but I swear from now on, if ever you're in my arms again, this time I'll love you much better. If ever you're in my arms again, this time I'll hold you forever. This time will never end. Now I'm seeing clearly how I still need you near me. I still love you so. There's something between us that won't ever leave us. There's no letting go. We had a once in a lifetime, but I just didn't know it till my life fell apart. A second once in a lifetime isn't too much to ask, 'cause I swear from the heart, if ever you're in my arms again, this time I'll love you much better. If ever you're in my arms again, this time I'll hold you forever. This time will never end. Never end. The best of romances deserve second chances. I'll get to you somehow, 'cause I promise now, if ever you're in my arms again, this time I'll love you much better. If ever you're in my arms again, this time I'll hold you forever. This time will never end. If ever you're in my arms again, this time I'll love you much better. If ever you're in my arms again, this time I'll hold you forever. This time will never end. If ever you're in my arms again, this time I'll love you much better. If ever you're in my arms again, this time. You are here and warm, but I could look away and you'd be gone. 'Cause we live in a time when meaning falls in spurs from our lives. That's why I've traveled far, 'cause I come so together where you are. Yes, and all of the things that I said that I wouldn't come rushing by in my head when I meet you. 14 joys and a will to be merry. All of the things that they say are very sentimental. Gentle wind blowing through my life again. Sentimental, very gentle one. All I need is sentimental, gentle wind blowing through my life again. Sentimental, very gentle one. missing all of the things that I said that I wanted. Come rushing by in my head when I meet you. 14 joys and a will to be married. All of the things that they say are very sentimental. Blowing through my life again. Sentimental, pretty gentleman. Sentimental, blowing through my life again. Sentimental,
You know the day destroys the night, night divides the day. Try to run, try to hide, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, break on through to the other side, yeah. We chased our pleasures here, dug our treasures there. We can still recall the time we cried. Break on through to the other side. Break on through to the other side. I found an island in your arms, country in your eyes, arms and chains, eyes and light. Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through. Oh yeah! Wait to see, week to week, day to day, hour to hour, day to straight, deep and wide. Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through to the other side. Bring on through, bring on through, bring on through, bring on through. Hey, 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 hey.
Whether you're at home, in the car, or at the office, the music of your life keeps you company all day long on the TAN Talk Radio Network.
I remember when rock was young. Me and Susie had so much fun, holding hands and skimming stones. Had an old gold Chevy and a place of my own, but the biggest kick I ever got was gonna think of the crocodile rock, while the other kids are rocking around the block. We were hopping and bobbing to the crocodile rock. Well, rockin', a song and shouting, make your feet just can't keep still. I never knew me about time, I guess I never will. Friday nights, the Susan Wall, get their time. Rock and roll out on the side. But the years went by and the rock just died. Susie went and left us for some foreign guy. Long nights crying by the record machine, dreaming Chevy and my open jeans, but that never killed the thrills we got. Burning up to the crocodile rock, burning fast as the weeks went fast. We really thought the crocodile rock would last. Well, the sound is chopping when your feet just can't keep still. I never knew me about time, I guess I still will. Friday nights, but you do want this thing. I'm on the side. Me and Susie had so much fun, holding hands and tipping stones. Had an old gold Chevy and a bit of my own, but the biggest kick I ever got was doing a thing called the crocodile rock, while the other kids were rocking down the clock. We were hopping and bobbing to the crocodile rock. Well, the sound is shocking when your feet just can't keep still. I never knew me about time, I guess I never will. Friday nights, we were soon on to that night. I'm on the side.
Our government keeps bailing out banks. What if the next bank is yours? Uncle Sam can't bail them all out. It's time to take action and bail yourself out. If you've been on the fence about buying gold and silver, now is the time to make the call. Gold and silver can be a protection for your portfolio. Also be used as currency, and I'm afraid we might need both soon. Why not have a little gold and silver on hand just in case and shield your portfolio? Now's the time to call the Oxford Gold Group and just hear what they have to say. The phone call is free. Securing your IRA or 401k with real gold and silver is a portfolio protection plan, and Oxford Gold has made it as easy as 1, 2, 3. One app, one call, and you pick the precious metals. That's it. You now own real precious metals just like I do. Call Oxford Gold today and ask about additional free bonus opportunities you may be eligible for. Call 833-974-1300. That's 833-974-1300.
Individual results may vary. There's no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Invest wisely.
Hello, music of your life, friends. This is Pat Boone. Yeah, I'm the guy, and I want you to know my good buddy Mike Lindell has something very special for you and me.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. Your continued support means everything to myself and my employees. To thank you, we're having the biggest sale ever on all My Pillow bedding. Get My Pillow bed sheets for as low as $29.98. A set of pillowcases for only $9.98. We also have blankets in a variety of sizes, colors, and styles for as low as $29.98. Get huge discounts on duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more.
Wow, that's quite a deal, Mike. Listen, friend, go to mypillow.com, enter the promo code PAT55 or call 800-447-0567 and use the promo code PAT55. That's 800-447-0567, promo code PAT55. You're going to thank me.
Whether you're at home, in the car, or at the office, the music of your life keeps you company all day long on the TAN Talk Radio Network.
than the deepest ocean, wider than the sky. My love is brighter than the brightest star that shines every night above. And there is nothing in this world that can ever change my love. My love is warmer than the warmest sunshine, softer than a sigh. My love is deeper than the deepest ocean, wider than the sky. My love is brighter than the brightest star that shines every night above. And there is nothing in this world that can ever change my love. Leave me this way. I can't survive. I can't stay alive without your love. Oh, baby, don't leave me this way. No, I can't exist. I'll surely miss your tender kiss. Don't leave me this way. Baby, my heart is full of love and desire for you. Now come on down and do what you gotta do. You started this fire down in my soul. Now can't you see it's burning out of control? Come on, satisfy the need in me. 'Cause only your good loving can set me free. Don't you leave me this way, no. Don't you understand? I'm at your command. Oh, baby, please, please don't leave me this way. No, baby, don't leave me this way. No. I can't survive. I can't stay alive without your love. Baby, don't leave me this way. My heart is full of love and desire for you. So come on down and do what you gotta do. You started this fire down in my soul. Now can't you see it's burning out of control? So come on, satisfy the need in me. 'Cause only your good loving can set me free. Need your loving, lady. Need it, need it. Satisfy the need in me. Satisfy the need in me. Don't
WTAN, Clearwater. FM 106.1. WDCF, Dade City. FM 102.3. Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Steve Kathan. Key day of the Trump criminal trial as the defense goes after star prosecution witness Michael Cohen. CBS's Errol Barnett is covering.
What was played in court this morning, Michael Cohen kind of ranting on his Mea Culpa podcast when it was clear last year that Donald Trump was indicted, said, quote, "He's about to get a taste of what I went through, and I promise you it's not fun." Picturing Donald Trump being led through the booking process, getting fingerprinted, having his mugshot taken fills me with delight. So Todd Blanche strategically using Michael Cohen's animated words, showing his opinions of Donald Trump and the fact that he pleaded guilty to lying to Congress and to investigators to demonstrate that Cohen very well may not be telling the truth now.
A political battle takes a new twist with action from the president as House Republicans weigh possible action against the Attorney General.
2 Republican-controlled committees on Capitol Hill want to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for refusing to turn over recordings from a special counsel's investigation. The president has asserted executive privilege to stop the release of the recordings after the Attorney General called the effort just another one of a series of unprecedented and unfounded attacks.
Look, the only thing I can do is continue to do the right thing. I will protect this building and its people.
Lindy Kenyon, CBS News, Washington.
Now to Chicago,
Free Palestine.
where police took down a protest encampment at DePaul University.
Completely heartbroken. We've put so much love and light into this community. It was just beautiful to see so many people coming here to stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine.
CBS's Imtiaz Tayyab reports a U.S. military pier is about to play a key role in the delivery of aid to Gaza.
The pier would initially handle 90 trucks a day, but that number could rise to up to 150. The UN says at least 500 trucks daily are needed to meet the desperate need in Gaza.
And Israel says today it will send more troops into the city of Rafah. The Biden campaign has accepted a CBS News offer for vice presidential debate this summer. No response from the Trump team. They say politics can be a snake pit. CBS's Jim Krasula on a case where that became dangerously real.
Former state lawmaker and West Virginia Secretary of State candidate Doug Scaff is hospitalized after he was bitten by several copperhead snakes. It happened while he was removing campaign signs after this week's primary. He unofficially finished second in the Republican race for Secretary of State on Tuesday. Scaff says he's in on and off intense pain.
The Dow is up 76. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is Downtown Dade. How would you like to be able to promote yourself, your business, or someone else's business for less than the cost of one 60-second commercial on many Tampa Bay radio stations? Here's the deal. You can have your own 1-hour radio program on the TAN Talk Network for less than the cost of one 60-second announcement on many Tampa Bay stations. Your program will be on 2 Tampa Bay radio stations and will cover 4 million people in Florida, plus worldwide on the internet in both audio and video. And you'll have a web link for your business on the TAN Talk 1340 website. We provide the producer, the state-of-the-art equipment, free production of commercials, and much more. Check it out today. Call Lola O'Brien, the Irish Hawaiian, at 727-510-7622. That's 510-7622. Call Lola O'Brien now, 727-510-7622. Call now and your 1-hour radio program can start tomorrow. Call 510-7622 for Lola O'Brien, the Irish Hawaiian, at the TAN Talk Radio Network.
You may be owed some money. After 911 and 411, call 541. That's 727-541-1741. Call Gulfstream Motorsports for a diminished value report. Due to my 28 years experience in the auto salvage business, I'm very good with wrecks. So if your car's been involved in a wreck, call me for a diminished value report. Call 727-541-1741. You may be owed some money for the lost value of your repaired vehicle. And visit us at GulfstreamMotorsports.com.
Tune in to the Shrink and Wrap Show here on TAN Talk Radio. Our stories and our topics will include, but are not limited to, everyday issues. We're here for you, for our listeners. We want to know what's important to you. So again, don't miss us on TAN Talk Radio. Tune in again, Shrink and Wrap Show. We'll see you then.
That's the Shrink and Wrap Show every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. right here on the TAN Talk Radio Network. Caregivers find the support they need on Connecting Caregivers Radio with Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregiver. Heard every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m., Linda and her caring and knowledgeable guests will bring you education, information, and resources, as well as a shoulder for caregivers. That's Connecting Caregivers Radio with Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregiver, where you can find help and hope every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Ain't it good? Pan-Hellenic News, on air live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. at 106.1 FM. Pan-Hellenic News, radio program from the Pan-Hellenic Federation of Florida. Wednesday at 4 p.m. Greek news, entertainment and culture.
Για νέα και για τον ελληνισμό. Μείνετε συντονισμένοι. Stay tuned.
Every day, hundreds of new listeners discover the greatest music of all time. Welcome to the Music of Your Life on the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to the Music of Your Life. This is Ed McMahon.
Sometimes late when things are real and people share the gift of gab between themselves. Some are quick to take the bait and catch the perfect prize that waits among the shelves. But Oz never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't didn't already have. And cause never was the reason for the evening, or the Tropic of Sir Galahad. So please believe in me when I say I'm spinning round, 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 round. Smoke glass stained bright cup, image going down, 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 down. So sad green light up. Oh, I never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. And cause never was the reason for the evening, or the Tropic of Sir Galahad. So please believe in me when I say I'm spinning round, 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 round. Smoke glass stained bright cup, image going down, 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 down. Smoke sun green light up. No, I never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. And cause never was the reason for the evening, or the Tropic of Sir Galahad. So please believe in me. Ooh.
Lift me, won't you lift me above the old routine? Make it nice, play it clean, Jasmine. When the jazzman's testifying, a faithless man believes he can sing you into paradise or bring it to your knees. It's a gospel kind of feeling, a touch of Georgia slide, a song of pure revival, and a style sanctified. Jasmine, take my blues away, make my day the same as yours with every change you play. Jasmine, oh Jasmine. Signifying and the band is winding low. It's the late night side of morning in the darkness of his soul. He can fill a room with sadness as it fills his horn with tears. He can cry like a fallen angel when rising time is near. Jazzman, take my blues away, make my pain the same as yours with every change you play. Oh, lift me, won't you lift me every time around? Play it sweetly, take me down, oh jazz man. Please don't hate me, mama, for what I'm about to do. But the good times we had together are just about now through. Please don't misunderstand me. I'd hate to see you cry, but I think that it might be better if I told you now goodbye. I'm back on the road again. It's time I'll leave you now. And maybe I'll see you next time that I'm around. Until then, I hope you're happy, baby. Good times come your way. I'm back on the road again. I'm on my way. Well, I love you since the day I met you, and I'll love you till the day I die. But we both know the life will never, ever know the reason why. That I've got to leave you, mama, and I've got to leave you there. But you know that I'll see you next time that I come to your town to play. I'm back on the road again. This time I'll leave you now, and maybe I'll see you next time that I'm around. Oh, Slip sliding away, slip sliding away. You know, the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away. I know a man, he came from my hometown. He wore his passion for his woman like a thorny crown. He said, Dolores, I live in fear. My love for you is so overpowering, I'm afraid that I will disappear. Slip sliding away, slip sliding away. You know, the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away. And I know one became a wife. These are the very words she uses to describe her life. She said, a good day ain't got no rain. She said, her bad days when I lie in bed and think of things that might have been. Slip sliding away, slip sliding away. You know, the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away. And I know a father who had a son. He longed to tell him all the reasons for the things he'd done. He came a long way just to explain. He kissed his boy as he lay sleeping, then he turned around and headed home again. He slip sliding, slip sliding away. You know, the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away. God only knows. God makes his plan. The information's unavailable to the mortal man. We're working our jobs, collect our pay. Believe we're gliding down the highway when in fact we're slip sliding away. Slip sliding away, slip sliding away. You know the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away. Slip sliding away. Slip sliding away. You know the nearer your destination, the more you slip sliding away.
Let's face it, everyone notices your skin. It can look young and fresh or old and wrinkled. Your skin is a direct reflection of your overall health and, most importantly, your lifestyle. Stop buying skincare products based on your age. Why? Because age is not a skin type. It all comes down to your lifestyle habits. Sun exposure, smoking, drinking, diet, lack of sleep, stress. The list goes on and on. Everyone can benefit from quality skincare like WIM, an amazing line of products that target all of the signs of skin damage no matter what your age. WIM is formulated with only those ingredients that enhance your beauty: botanical extracts, vitamins, amino acids, and a unique peptide blend. WIM contains no nasties like parabens, sulfates, or artificial colors. Check out the WIM skincare line at simplywim.com. Use promo code RADIO20 for a 20% discount. Compliments of music of your life. Go to simplywim.com today.
Smiling, when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing, oh, when you're laughing, the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, you bring on the rain. So stop your sighing. Be happy again. Keep on smiling. 'Cause when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you. Crying, you bring on the rain. So stop your sighing. Be happy again. Keep on smiling. 'Cause when you're smiling,
Ella, Frank, Bobby, Louie, and Dino. They're all back on the radio, part of the music of your life, and they've all come home to the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Jesse is a friend. Yeah, I know he's been a good friend of mine. But lately something's changed, it ain't hard to define. Jesse's got himself a girl and I wanna make her mine. And she's watching him with those eyes, and she's loving with that body, I just know it. And he's holding her in his arms late at night. You know I wish that I had Jesse's girl. I wish that I had Jesse's girl. Where can I find a woman like that? I'll play along with the charade. There doesn't seem to be a reason to change. You know, I feel so dirty when they start talking cute. I wanna tell her that I love her, but the point is probably moot. Cause she's watching him with those eyes, and she's loving him with that body, I just know it. And he's holding her in his arms late at night. You know I wish that I had Jesse's girl. I wish that I had Jesse's girl. Where can I find a woman like that, like Jesse's girl? I wish that I had Jesse's girl. Where can I find a woman? Where can I find a woman like that? And I'm looking in the mirror all the time, wondering what she don't see in me. I've been funny, I'm cool with the lines. Ain't that the way life's supposed to be? Tell me, where can I find a woman like that? You know I wish that I had Jesse's girl. I wish that I had Jesse's girl. I want Jesse's girl. Where can I find a woman like that, like Jesse's girl? I wish that I had Jesse's girl. I want Jesse's girl. Splish splash, I was taking a bath, long about a Saturday night. Yeah. Rub dub, just relaxing in the tub, thinking everything was alright. When I stepped out the tub, I put my feet on the floor. I wrapped the towel around me and I opened the door. And then a splish splash, I jumped back in the bath. Well, I was out and know there was a party going on. There was a splishing and a splash, reeling with the feel, moving and a groove, and rocking and a rolling. Bing bang, I saw the whole gang dancing on my living room floor. Yeah, flipping flops, they were doing the bop. All the teens had to dance with fun. There was Lollipop with a Peggy Sue. The golly Miss Molly was even there too. Well, splish splash, I forgot about the bath. I went and put my dancing shoes on. Yeah, I was rolling and a stroll, reeling with the feel, moving and a groove, splishing and a splashing. station and a spaceship. I